The National Association of Graduate Teachers and a section of some religious groups in Ghana say they have not been consulted on the planned introduction of the controversial comprehensive sexuality education into public schools in the country. According to UNFPA, research shows that majority of adolescents lack the knowledge required to make decisions to their sexuality responsibly, leaving them vulnerable to coercion, sexually transmitted infections, and unintended pregnancy. The comprehensive sexuality education is to address this problem. Well, the general public has not taken kindly to this development. And we have Angel Kabanu, he's the president of NAGRAT, joining us live on the phone with more. Good morning, sir, and thank you for your time.
Good morning.
So have you been consulted on this matter as an interested party?
Well, even when you look at the issue that is being discussed, there's so much confusion in the minds of the public as to what actually pertains or is contained in the comprehensive sexual education document. And that we can understand and we should understand the apprehension of Ghanaians and their determination to ensure that nothing untoward is pushed into our syllabus that will compromise our values and that will compromise our ethics. So that is the position most people are coming from. Reverend ministers, educationists, parents, and so on and so forth. That we don't smuggle or push anything into our curriculum that will compromise who we are as a people. We know this type of education is in European and American countries, where they have been able to smuggle into it LGBT and gay issues. So I expect the Ghana Education Service to come very clear as to the content of what we are going to implement in our country and see whether that is acceptable by our people. Because we know the machinations and the cunning strategies that is adopted by some of these Western countries and Western donors who push some of these untoward values into syllabuses in countries. And we have examples of countries worldwide that are victims of some of these machinations. I'm sure that is where the anger of our reverend ministers, parents, and the generality of our public is.
So when you read the actual book, the different topics that are raised in it, there's the issue of sex change, there's the LGBT issue, there's masturbation, and there's also hate crime that is talked about. So do you think that these topics are age appropriate? Considering, and I'll give you an example, for 12-year-olds, they're being taught how to put on condoms and how to take off the condoms without spilling the contents. Do you think that this is age appropriate?
Well, from where I sit as an individual, I don't even think it's appropriate to be teaching children of that age some of these things, from where I sit personally. But again, this is where the problem lies, that what then is our objective? Who is driving this agenda? In whose interest is this agenda being driven? For me, I expect that the curriculum people, the Ghana Education Service, will have to come out again and then revisit this issue.
What are some of the reactions that you've encountered from your fellow teachers?
Oh, for me, I have had countless reactions, complaints. Even some of my members even accusing leadership that we were part of the decision to introduce these syllables, which of course I've indicated elsewhere that I have not been part of any decision to introduce anything. The fact of the matter is that people are concerned, people are disturbed, and the minds of those people have to be cleared on issues.
And so, assuming that you're asked to teach this particular curriculum, would you teach it?
Well, my beliefs and my orientation will guide me to a very large extent. My beliefs and my orientation, and I'm sure it is the beliefs and orientation of most people that is driving them to react on this issue.
So what does NAGRAT intend to do about this new development?
Well, as for us as an association, we react to the general sentiments of our members. If the general sentiment of our members is that this is inappropriate, then we will have to issue a statement with regards to that. But I think that before we even get there, the Ghana Education Service and the curriculum people will have to sit and revisit this issue. But whether they like it or not, it has raised hue and cry.
Right. Do you believe that there is an agenda, an unspoken agenda underlying this CSA?
There is an international agenda championed by Caucasians and Westerners to ensure that they smuggle these LGBT, gay issues, lesbianism, and things to education worldwide. It didn't start today. It didn't start with Ghana. When you go to countries in Southern Africa, they are suffering some of these things. They finance programs, they finance projects, and cunningly introduce some of these issues. I have attended several international conferences, and LGBT, lesbianism, and gay issues have become very prominent in this. So it is a huge international agenda. You realize that hardly will an African head of state be interviewed by an international radio or television. Hardly will they not mention issues of LGBT. So that is the reason for which the leadership came. So it's an international agenda that we all have to be cautious that we don't get ourselves engulfed in.
Okay, just before you go, now I've been thinking about the fact that we have to educate our children without empowering them to go into this lifestyle, which we're all so vehemently against. How do we bring it to their minds that these are things that are happening on the international front? Lesbianism, gayism, bisexual, these are things that they will have to deal with as they grow up. So how do we educate them on it?
Well, that is where parenting comes in. That is where the churches come in. That is where appropriate instruction also comes in. That we should be aware that in the year 2019, the world is suffering from or is being bombarded by this, and that we all cannot pretend. Look, our kids are getting information on the internet, with their mobile phones and so on and so forth. So we will have to be very, very alert and educate them. For me, I will consciously educate my children to be aware of some of these things. Again, certain bad practices in our schools, which, of course, again, didn't start today, what we call the dearisms and the so on and so forth, that is already in our schools. The teachers also have to be very vigilant. If it is opposed to our culture, if it's opposed to our belief, it's opposed to our sentiment, we should be very proud that we should fight it.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Sheikh Anas Arameyao is an Islamic scholar and spokesperson for the Chief Imam, also joining us live this morning. Good morning, Sheikh.
Good morning.
Have you any knowledge of this planned introduction of the comprehensive sexuality education, and what do you make of it?
Well, let me quickly make a correction in my name. I'm Arameyao Shaibu, not Anas.
Sorry, sir. All right, sorry.
Yeah,
we apologize for that.
Anas is not my name.
We apologize for that.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I've heard about the new comprehensive sexuality education, which has been introduced as part of our school curriculum.
And what do you make of it?
Yeah, it's about the introduction of sexuality education at age 5. I think the whole concept is new and very unfamiliar to our environment, and it's also in conflict with our traditions, even in terms of our religious diversity. There are certain virtues we hold in common, and matters of morality are things that almost all the religions agree on. So our traditions and values related to matters of the sex is something that we uphold dearly. And we think that is part and parcel and integral to our lives. So for such new concept to be introduced without broad consultation, for us to, one, understand the concept very well, two, to know where does it begin from? If we want to engage in sex education, where does it begin and where does it end? This framework has not been made clear, so we've just heard that this has been introduced, and I think that is where I find the fault, and something needs to be done about it.
Were you consulted on any level before
I
this
cannot
was
remember,
put together?
and I'm very convinced that there has not been any such consultation where we as Muslims or people of religious persuasions have made inputs in order to perfect the document. I'm very convinced that no such broad consultation has ever been done.
If this comprehensive sexuality education curriculum is pushed through to our public schools, what action are you going to take?
No, I think, representing the voice of Muslims, and I'm sure many will agree with me, we need to register our complete disapproval of it and let the authorities understand that such things, particularly in Islamic schools, may not be approved and may not be accepted in our schools. And I think that many of the Christian mission schools will accept this idea too.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning. And the Education Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, has been responding to concerns raised so far on the issue. Let's hear from him.
The subject of sexuality education has become a very important matter, particularly for the youth in our societies. Indeed, the changing societal context, characterized by the free flow of information, media pluralism, and the social media, has necessitated the need for education systems to provide accurate information of sexuality education. We in Ghana have a guideline that I've shared with you that we see it as imperative, if this nation should develop, that sexuality education should be part of the curricula that we would launch this year in September, all the way from kindergarten to senior high school. Let me congratulate UNESCO and partners for the timely nature of this high-level dialogue among ministers of the four regions, Eastern, Southern Africa, Western, and Central Africa, to shape the discourse and the implementation of comprehensive sexuality education in Africa. Ghana has long recognized sexual and reproductive health education as a conduit for addressing issues affecting the youth in this area, originally provided by elders and other traditional leaders in community. Aspects of reproductive health education were introduced in the school system with the advent of formal education.
And the UNFPA have responded to the concerns that have been raised. We will bring you that sound as soon as we're able to.